Hello RC friends, and welcome to this video today where I'm going to be talking to you about competitive RC. Now, I've always been a competitive person. I like to try to get good at something in order to, I don't know, compete and show how good I can be at something, although I've never really managed to do anything so much so where I have been really good at it. I used to swim and do badminton and skateboard and things like that, and I was kind of like generally okay at those and getting to an okay goodish level, but never anything where I've been like, you know, champion of the world, which would be quite fun to do, but then also lots of effort too. So I like to straddle the line of playing competitively, but also having fun, but being fun in a competitive kind of way. And you can 100% do that in the RC world. So essentially, as soon as I found out there was a local club to me that raced kind of competitively, although of course if you just want to do it for fun, then you can do it for fun, there's nothing wrong with doing that. As soon as I found out there was a local club to me that raced remote control cars kind of like in a competitive fashion, I was like, you know what, sign me up. I want to be there, I want to do this thing. And my local club to me was called AORRC. Big shout out to AORRC. It's a very fun club. If you're local to the area, then definitely join the club. There's lots of fun things going on. And yeah, I found out the club was there, so I popped down a couple of times, found out what classes they run, had a little look at the rules, and just essentially ask them what the best thing to do to get involved with and involved with them, and then they're all very accommodating because they like to share their passions, just like many other people out there, like with airsofters and things like that. You ask questions, the trick is to get people to stop talking, but it's great because it means that everyone's really passionate about what they do. So if you wanted to get into racing RC competitively, if bashing around in like the garden or in the road or in a car park is not enough for you, then 100% I recommend it, and it's easier to get into than you may think. So let's say, for example, you have found a local club to go to. What's the next step, you may wonder? Well, the first thing to do is to find out what classes they actually run at the local club. Now, when I say what classes they run, I mean what types of cars are they running. Now, I have a selection in front of me here, which is there's too many and they're too big for you to see properly on this camera. So let's come back up to here. I've got 3 classes here in front of me. This one here is the first type of class that I started to run. Now, this is a 10th scale 4-wheel drive touring car. This in particular is made by a company called Team Associated. It's called the TC3. It's got a motor inside, speed controller, which like manages the power from the battery going to the motor. Batteries in there, and a receiver, and a servo, so the car can steer like that. And this is the first type of car that I started to run. I started off with a Tamiya TT01, moved up to a Team Losi Triple XS Graphite Plus, which I then drove into a car in an off-season and just completely exploded the front end into lots of graphite bits. And at that point, I was like, right, I need to get me a new car. And I moved over to the TC3 because I managed to get a good deal on it secondhand. Anyway, this 10 scale touring car is pretty commonly kind of like raced across the UK, although now the Team Associated, they're onto the TC6, so I don't imagine this could be potentially legal now these days. But yeah, 10th scale 4-wheel drive touring car for indoor racing anyway. We're focusing on indoor racing in this one, but you can go outdoors, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. Then, after racing the 10th scale touring car, I moved on to 10th scale minis, which started off as a bit of a fun class. Again, this is a Tamiya shell, or Tamiya body, Tamiya car, everything like that out the kit. And this was a stock class, which essentially meant you would buy the car kit, and everything that came with the kit was the only things that was legal. You couldn't buy upgrade parts or anything like that unless the club specifically said, and if the club offered them. So for these minis, it was quite common that the motors out of the box were inconsistent with each other. So the club sold a motor, but it was super cheap, only £9. So you would essentially buy the car, buy the club motor for £9. You would get your batteries, which were also a set size. I think they were limited to 1600 mAh in terms of capacity. And then that was it. You would run it, you would race it, and it was literally like, you know, focused on the driving ability as opposed to you know, the person's got the most money to buy the fanciest stuff to put in their car. Although setting up the car did play a key factor to that as well, but that kind of comes into the rules of racing competitively. But these days, sadly for me, these aren't getting raced anymore, and these aren't getting raced anymore. At my local club anyway, there are clubs further afield which do still race those types of cars, which I could take them to if I wanted to. At my local club, they're actually more running this type of car, which is called the Made Mini Assassin. And again, this is one of those stock classes where you buy the car, and then you pretty much run it stock. There's very limited upgrade parts which you can get to run with this car. So that means it keeps it very much an evil playing field for drivers. If you're a good driver, doesn't matter if you've got loads of upgrade parts in your car, because you literally can't do that. So it's much more focused on the driver's ability as opposed to what's in the car, and also car setup too. So, you know, how high your suspension is, on what sides, what types, what like strength of spring you've got in there. There's little things like that which you can do to make a difference to the car and just kind of like get it performing well. I'm still kind of more now at the point of trying to finalize my setup and then getting good at driving again, because again, apart from like, you know, the 3 race days I've had so far back at the club, I've not raced like this for 15 odd years, so I'm still trying to get the cobwebs off my fingers, off my thumbs, so I can race really well. So essentially that's when it comes down to stock. Or to class of what kind of cars you're running there. Then you've got rules which, like I touched on earlier, there's specific parts which you can or can't use, motors, things like that. And again, with the touring cars, it's like, you know, it was more open. I think it was like 27 turn. As long as it was a 27 turn motor, it was okay. So you were open as to what kind of, or what brand of motor you could get. There were a few, like 2 or 3 motors that were used kind of across the club, but you were limited still in that regard. And yeah, that's kind of like the general kind of setup and how to get into doing racing. When you do find your club and you want to do some racing, like especially for AORRC, there is a kind of like, I don't know, like a diary of events that happen every single race night. So you show up at the club, you set up the hall ready to go, because it's in like a community centre, and usually there's like badminton courts and basketball and things like that. So what we do is we get in there, we unroll really big bits of carpet, which is our race surface. There's a load of like guttering which we use as the barriers to set up the track. And then there's also like, you know, carpets which we put down for us to have our little pit area, and tables and chairs to set up. So there's quite a bit of setup that needs to be done before the racing kicks off. But people who arrive early like me, we get there, we get tables out, we'll put chairs down, we'll get the carpets kind of going, and then everyone just kind of pitches in to make it a faster, easier job. So once that's all done, you can start to practice. You sign in as well with the little man at the little table, so they know that you're racing there today. You can practice, start getting your tyres a little bit warmed up, getting your eye in, and just start getting used to the track, because the tracks alternate every week there. It's 2 tracks that we run through the season, and we alternate it on every other week. So yeah, you've got like a little bit of a different track to do, but it's something that you're familiar with. You also have something in the car called a transponder. So along with the car itself, you need a way in order to log your laps, and we have a transponder in the car. So mine is just kind of like sits at the front there, connects to my receiver which powers it, and essentially underneath the track there's a couple of wires at one point, and every time you drive over those wires, it logs your time and it counts your laps. So the people who are running the race know how many laps you've done, know your times, and you've got, you know, your times to essentially be competitive against, and they can see how you're doing versus other people in your round and other rounds, because most likely there's going to be multiple rounds, because there's going to be lots of people racing, because racing is lots of good fun. Once you've done that, once you've practiced, set up the car, set up the place, you then move into your first official race. And you've got 2 qualifiers and then 1 final. And the best result from your qualifiers will then dictate which of the finals you then go in. Say there's like 15 people and there's 5 people per race. You're going to have 3, like, heats. Is it? Yeah, is it? No, not 3. Yeah, 3. Let's just say like 3 heats. I can't remember the actual term for it. Maybe it is heats. I don't really remember. So you'll have like the A, the B, and the C. And let's say you start in the C, but you do really well in one of your races, and then kind of okay in the next one. That result may put you into the B final or even the A final. If you were just amazingly really good, then you may be working your way into the A final. And that's essentially, you do, that's it. You're ready to go, you're racing, you're winning your races, you're getting into your finals, and then at the end of the season, which is 12 weeks long in this case, and 8 of those weeks, or your 8 best results, are the ones that count towards your overall standing within that season, you then get your kind of like overall position in the club for the class that you're running in. And back in the day, we used to get little trophies at like the final kind of race day. I don't know if they do that anymore, because this is my first season back and we've literally just started. Sadly, I'm going to be missing at least 1 of the race nights though, so I'm only going to have 7 seasons of this counting, but hopefully I can do okay enough to get a decent position. If I can be in like, you know, the bottom, I don't know, maybe the top 60%, then I'll consider that a very big W. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I've only got one of those. I'm only been doing 7 of the 8 weeks, so we'll have to just wait and see. Hopefully other people don't attend for like 4 weeks and then that means that I'll be kind of like on par with everyone. But there are lots of like regular people there, which is great. It means you can make lots of RC friends and just learn from them and get help and input, and you know, everybody wants to help everyone else's cars be better. So yeah, people always just walk around, have a little look, and they say, oh, did you know you can do this thing? And you're like, no, I didn't know I could do that thing. And then suddenly your car has just got like loads more rear grip, which is what you wanted. And yeah, the world is a better, happier place. Now, you don't just do indoor for competitive, there is outdoor as well. There's a track, well, there's a shop called Hearts RC, and I think it's just the Hearts RC Club as well, and they've got a few tracks over there. They've got like a large 8th scale nitro like buggy outdoor track. They've got a 10th scale nitro / electric track. I think they've got a 10th scale basher track as well, which is more of a bit of a fun track to go on. And they've got this big vert wall type thing as well, so you can drive up it. Literally, if you just floored it, you would just go flying straight up in the air. But that's more of like the fun basher track. And then I believe they have a crawler track as well, which is essentially about like having trucks which go slowly but have insane torque, and it's like massive rocks and boulders and things like that, and it's your job to kind of like crawl through it and navigate all these big rocks and boulders to try and get to the other side kind of as quickly as you can do. Although I don't know if it's all about speed. I'd like to think it would be if you're trying to race, or maybe it's just for like the fun, you know, trying to get to the other side, you know, with these big boulders in the way. I have not crawled before in this RC car sense, so I'm not too sure. So I would like to check that out and see how people get on with that and do that. I'm more built for speed. I like going quick, so yeah. But I'm curious though. I am very curious. And the cool thing as well, actually, with the Hearts RC Club, is that you can go to those tracks throughout the week. I think they said it's like £12 for the day to go there, or maybe it's per hour. I think it's for the day though. You pay £12 and then you can essentially take your car out on the track, and you can practice, you can race, you can go with a few people if you want to, and you can do your own little kind of like track day, and you can get ready for the races, because they do ongoing kind of seasons as well, and all of the race days are available on the website for you to check out. So yeah, if you do want to do that, you can kind of like go to clubs, check out the different cars, see which classes you think are going to be the most interesting for you, and you can go from there. But generally speaking, if you can find a club that does like a stock set like this, I mean, this car I think was 160, and that came with kind of like everything minus the radio and batteries and things like that. So you can get a full setup of the Mardave Mini for probably about 200 quid to get you going and everything kind of running quite nicely. But like the Tamiya here, this little car, you'd probably be everything up and running, all good to go, maybe about 160. So if you can find a club that does the Tamiya Minis, or the I think the MO3, I think that is, then that's good there. And usually people at the club will have like second-hand ones that they're selling, or they know of people that are doing them cheap, or they can just make recommendations for you of where you can get them from. But most of the time you can get this stuff on eBay, and I'm actually a little bit sad because my touring car that I have is actually now listed as vintage. So is my Tamiya Mini actually as well. They're both listed on like eBay and stuff as vintage RC car, which is just insane to me. And you know what? The motor that's in my TC3 there, actually I could sell on its own for like £100 plus, because it's in good condition and it's classed as a vintage motor, which people are collecting for some reason. So yeah, maybe one day I'll cash that in, but for now, if I took it out, my car wouldn't go anywhere, so I want to keep it in there just for now. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. That's how you get into competitive RC. There's loads of options out there for you. If you'd like to know anything else or got any questions, let me know in the comments below. Maybe if you're racing, let me know what your club's name is at. Put it in the comments and I'll check it out, and maybe I'll pop down for a race sometime, because I want to race. I want to get my cars out as much as possible and just have fun with them and make some videos about it. So yeah, let me know where you race in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.